So I guess we're just gonna get started a little bit. So we have a wonderful lineup of speakers here, and they were very entertaining today. I want to thank every single one of them. Let's give them all a huge round of applause. That's awesome. So now the interactive portion of the show, guys. Does anybody have any questions for any of these amazing people up here? Or this could be really quick. No, let's see. How do we want to do this? Does anybody have any questions? Do you want to raise your hand? Anybody? Nobody? No questions. Oh, yes.
Have you ever seen a Bigfoot?
Have I ever seen a Bigfoot? That's a great question. Why don't we go down the line and just say if we've ever seen a Bigfoot, right? So I have not seen a Bigfoot. I've seen everything but. I've got rock throws, tree knocks, footprint finds, but I've never actually seen a Bigfoot. You have. That's awesome. Turtle Man?
Sir. I have seen a Bigfoot on my show, Turtle Man Official Channel on YouTube. If you want to look that up, it'll be Turtle Man's Hunt for Bigfoot, S on Turtle Man's. And it's 10 episodes, and there is a Bigfoot on episode 5. It's called The Chase, and you can see it to the left. I went to the right on it. It's a little baby Bigfoot, by the way, and it's looking over a log. And at the end of the show, on episode 10, I've actually got one on film, at least 15 yards in front of me, coming right toward me, throwing rocks at us. I said, "Get in the car now!"
Jimmy, have you ever seen a Bigfoot?
I have. I saw one when I was 13 years old, just like 5 years ago, maybe. But anyway, I live down in the mountains of Virginia, and our family has been on the land since the 1760s, and I saw one behind our house when I was 13 years old. He was as close as me to that man hanging on that big camera right there, that fella waving. Well, that wasn't you I seen up there, was it? Okay. But I have seen one. I've heard him ever since. My son finally saw it 2 years ago, but I seen one when I was 13.
I actually saw one the very first time I went to Salt Fork, Ohio, the state park there, which people say that's the #1 place to see one. And I'm walking down the Buckeye Trail that very evening, and it's just starting to get dark, and I leaned down to look farther down the trail, and I'm looking around, and out of the corner of my right eye, I saw a little movement. I turned and looked, about 15 feet right inside the wood line, there was one leaning there looking at me. And I almost pooped my pants. So yes, I seen one. I did have, depends. Like, depends. Oh man, this guy's been on me forever. But anyhow, I've found tracks, trackways. I debunked 98% of the tree structures that they talk about. So I'm not getting into that one. But I had whoops, had tree knocks, which you can kind of debunk them too.
I've seen 2 Bigfoot, one in 21 and one last September in Salt Fork.
First one was in 2002, second and third was in 2016, the last one was in 2018. Yeah.
Terry. That's Turry to you. I have never had a clear, I think what it's called, a Class A sighting, like Michael had or some of the other folks. I'm getting some feedback, I'm sorry. The only thing I have had happen, as I said earlier, if you were here just a few minutes ago, I saw a dark, shadowy figure walk between the tents in one of our campsites. My first thought was it's a kid playing around with a headlamp because it had a glowing, what I later realized was eye shine, had like what looked like a headlamp on top of its head, and that's as close as I've gotten. And I realized if that's a kid, their head and shoulders are way over the tents. These are like way too tall to be kids. This is not a kid. That's as close as I've come, and I'm living for the day when I have a sighting where I can do the Freeman thing, like, whoop, there he goes.
I suspect I saw one through a thermal imager in 2011, and I may have seen one on the side of the road in 2017, but I couldn't, unable to verify that one because of the situation. So maybe.
Well, just this past April 20th, 20 minutes from here, I based upon the handprints outside the camper window, I can't say I saw one, but I'm confident they saw me again. And again, outside of on a flare, that fleeting, the absence of light bipedal, seeing all those, but I was blessed with a nice juvenile out at a oblique angle and demonstrate every mode of locomotion as opposed to doing the paddy walk, and it was fabulous, and which led to finding the perch and taught me some behavior, and then a month later going back and finding the nest bed daycare center and collecting that and documenting that. So I gotta say, yeah, and as a researcher, you're like 99, but man, that's something that can never be taken away from you. Yeah, replays in my head every day. Back to you.
Hi, name's Dave Wargo. I seen my first sighting in the clear. I have 3 in the clear sightings during my lifetime. 1974, I was 16 years old. Bigfoot was crossing the railroad tracks and 3 of us were hunting. I had a rifle on my back. I was pistol hunting, and I took the rifle off my back. I cleared the weapon, dropped the magazine, so basically I have a iron tube with a 4-power scope on it, and me, my brother, and a friend got a really good look at a Bigfoot standing on a railroad track in Ohio, Rochester, Ohio. And 4-power scope, we got a really good look at him. I tell everybody, kind of looked like the Jack-linked Bigfoot, only this one was charcoal gray. About 3 weeks later, we spotlighted him in a field. There was 5 of us at the time that we all 5 of us seen it, and then I didn't have any more sightings, just not in the clear sightings. How does that sound? Those shadows that they were talking about that they see fleeing through the woods, they look like these cutouts that they sell here. You just see a quick flash of black or whatever color the Bigfoot may be. And then the last one, I was a river guide driving up Route 66 in just by Warren, Pennsylvania, just north of here. He crossed the road in front of me. I was about 15 foot away. Got to go look at him. And then I ran into this guy named Cliff Brockman or something like that. On Finding Bigfoot, you could look that up on March, I believe it was March 2013 episode, Bigfoot and the Redhead. But so I seen him in the clear 3 times, probably, I don't know, 100 probables. But they're very elusive. So 50 years of looking for these things, I was lucky enough to see them 3 times. So, back to you.
Thank you, thank you. Is there any other questions? Yes. The question is, what would we actually do if we actually got our hands on a Bigfoot? Turtle Man?
Well, if you watch my show on episode 9, if you want to see a Bigfoot that close, you're not going to make it. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you. I got hit by a rock by one. That's right. Knocked me down. And then we was 99% sure that we wasn't going to leave the woods that day. And then I had people, I've been out in the woods down in London, Kentucky, all right? We was tracking a Bigfoot down there. Now this one had claws on him. It was a Bigfoot, probably about 13 inches long, about 4 inches wide, but it had 5 claws on the end of his toes. I don't know what that was, but the guy put the camera down and said, "We just bring the police back, Turtle Man. You look like you're going to be scattered about here somewhere. You won't be hard to find." So there you go. Woohoo! Yay! Check out episode 10 on that show, too. I'm Turtle Man's Hunt for Bigfoot. Check it out on YouTube.
Like I say, the closest I've been to one where I could see him was about 50 foot away, and that's plenty close enough for me at the time. I ain't gonna lie, Jesse Owens couldn't have caught me coming off the mountain that day.
That's true. With all honesty, I was 15 feet away from this sucker. I'm 65 now. That was 3 years ago. This old man can run fast backwards and not fall down. There's no way in hell I'm going to try to put my damn hands on a Bigfoot. No way in hell.
I just don't think we'll ever get the chance.
Oh, I'll give it back to me here in a second. Terry, you answer this.
And I'm assuming you mean a live one? Okay. Well, there's dead ones. I'm not going to get into that, but that's a good question. And my answer to you is I don't know. I will tell you that I often carry an extra pair of underwear with me out in the woods for that day. I would like to think that I would have the presence of mind to stand there and observe. As I said in my talk earlier, I've been close to them plenty of times. If they wanted to hurt me, they've had every opportunity to do it, and they haven't yet. So I would hope that I would have the presence of mind to stand there and observe, and at some point let him leave the show. If he wants to leave, let him leave, and we'll go from there. So my answer right now is I don't know.
What would I do if I ever got my hands on a Bigfoot? I think I could probably... Shut up, Gwen. You're ruining it. Sum it up with this.
Now I had the time of my life. No, I never felt like this before.
All right, I have enough of your smiles. I'm going to answer this question. To put your hands on a Bigfoot is like putting your hands on a bear or a moose. That's not something that just happens. But to answer the question, perhaps that this leads to is a dead one. Honestly, a dead one, because that will happen. There's no other way around it. I told you I'm tired of your smiling. I'm going to bring everybody down. A dead one is inevitable, essentially, unfortunately, because to prove the species, one needs to be brought in dead and described in a scientific journal. That is the way science works. I don't like the rules, but that's the way it works. There's two species, there's two species, maybe a third one, that doesn't have what's called a holotype. A holotype is a dead one that is described in a scientific journal like Nature or one of those journals like that. And one of the species is a human, because look around, we're clearly real. There's another species, and this is what gives me a little bit of hope here. Another species is a monkey that was deemed too rare to sacrifice even one before the balance would be off and they would drive them to extinction. There's no reason to think Sasquatches are endangered at any point right now. Of course, there's precious little data to suggest otherwise. So a dead one will be collected someday. So think about that when your researchers are out there saying, I am trying to prove the species is real. Are you? That's a real question for yourself. It's a moral question. I personally am not out there trying to prove they're real, because I know the only pathway towards proving a species is a dead one, and I'm not willing to pull the trigger myself. I'm not a hunter, I'm not a gun guy, I've got a couple firearms, but I'm not a gun guy. I have no business out there trying to prove the species. I'm trying to learn about them. But maybe, against all odds, perhaps a naturally dead one could be discovered. And if I put my hands on that, I would immediately cut off a finger, put it somewhere where no one but my wife would know where it would be, which would prove my connection to the corpse. Then I would immediately call Dr. Jeff Meldrum, cut off the biggest piece of the corpse I possibly could, and drive it directly to his door without stopping for anything else but gasoline. And because that is the only pathway forward, and I'm sorry to bum everybody out, but that's just the facts. So especially you researchers, if you're actually trying to prove one, ask yourself, are you really? Because the only pathway forward is a dead one at this point. There's a possibility DNA, some sort of environmental DNA or some sort of small piece of the body like a hair or some flesh or blood might be able to prove the species, but immediately afterwards, the scientific community would go out to try to collect a specimen so we can learn more about them. It's sad, it's Victorian, that doesn't make sense to me necessarily, but it's a fact. So if you're trying to prove the species, you are advocating to the death of one of these. Sorry, guys. Go back to smiling now. I'll pass this on.
You're a regular buzzkill. No, he's 100% right. So maintaining that reality, I'd probably ask him, where's Jimmy Hoffa's body? How does he activate his cloaking device? No, I don't prescribe to that, but I do think that I would love to ask him how they remain hidden from us with these exceptional skills that, or features that exist in nature elsewhere. And besides asking who his daddy is, the big one that bothers me, the things that we experience is everything's, risk, benefit, what their motivation is. They remain so hidden, but yet they like toy with us and may come up and, put a handprint somewhere where you're over there, or throw a pebble at you there to make you look at why. What's the motivation? I mean, there's a ton of speculation with that, but that's one thing that just burns me is that in my brain is that risk benefit, besides looking like just entertaining themselves. So, and you're right about discovering it. Are we really? There's a side of me that doesn't want it. I don't want to use it weaponized against us, as in, our property rights and such. But damn, I enjoy the journey, the discovery, the critical thinking, and all the new friends and the outdoors. And like Cliff says, camping with a purpose.
So, I'm actually one of the weird ones around here. I've been 15 feet away from one, and I carry a Snickers bar in my pocket. And if he gets close enough to me, I am going to try to give it a Snickers bar. Now, there could be a problem with that. Number one, am I going to be brave enough to stand there while it approaches me? Number two, is he going to take my arm with the Snickers bar? And it might have a dead one because maybe he's allergic to peanuts. I don't know. But I tell everybody, I plan to be friendly. If it gets close to me, I'm not going to run it down. But if it approaches me, I'm going to give him that candy bar, and we'll see what happens and go from there. But I tell everybody, I'm mostly in the Allegheny National Forest. So if you hear about an old guy getting his head ripped off in the Allegheny National Forest, you will know who it was and what I was doing. The real question is, what happened to the Snickers bar?
Thank you, thank you. Any other questions for us? Yes. Westmoreland County. Are you asking if there's been a sighting there? Who would know that best? There you go.
1960. Near Greensburg, yes. There was one, yes. There's been numerous sightings in Westmoreland County, all over Westmoreland County. I got a print down here. It's a copy of one from Westmoreland County, down in my tent down here, the purple tent. I didn't put it out on the table. I ran out of room, but I sold enough stuff. I think I can get it out now. But yeah, they do. Right near outside the dairy. Yeah, right outside the dairy, up on the Dairy Ridge. And I rode my four-wheelers across the Dairy Ridge so many times. And I never saw a print or anything up there. Yeah. They do put off a smell. The one I saw at 15 feet did not put off a smell. Oh, yeah. Between wet dog, diarrhea, garbage, and everything else. Yeah. I heard. I'm very fortunate I never came across the smell. Yes, Laura. I believe they do. Like a skunk. I think they do it as a warning or when they get scared. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Regarding the smell, only between 10 and 15% of sighting reports have any smell component at all. So it's not as common as people say, first of all. And second of all, we don't know, obviously, there's a lot of speculation going on, but there is a precedent in the other great apes for such a thing. Gorillas, it turns out, mountain gorillas and lowland gorillas have a scent gland in their armpit. Diane Fossey would note that she would very often know that the gorillas are nearby because she would smell them before she saw them. And apparently that the gorillas, a study was just published, I forget which journal it was, just a handful of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that they did a study on subdominant gorillas in a troop. And they found that the gorilla, they strongly believe gorillas can choose to release the musk at will. Because subdominant gorillas, when they knew they were in the territory of the alpha male, the big silverback, they would not stink up the area, essentially. Now, of course, humans have smelly armpits, but that's because of bacteria. The bacteria in our armpits grows in the sweat, and then the waste of the bacteria actually is what gives our armpits a stinky smell. For gorillas, it is different. It is actually something they exude from a gland. Now, the gorillas do it when they're antagonistic towards one another, or when they're in a high stress situation or fearful of something, or when they're in some sort of dominance display, which is why the subdominant gorilla males did not release that smell around the alpha male. So when you think about Sasquatch reports, there's a lot of evidence that indicates that it's very stressful for a Sasquatch to be observed when they know they're being observed. And one of the pieces of evidence out there is there's been a small number of reports of a Sasquatch smiling at a witness. The most prominent one is an old smiley. That's what they nicknamed him up in BC, British Columbia, where they would see the thing and it would smile at them. I've spoken to several witnesses. Oh, it was so nice. It smiled at me. I said, well, that's cute. Showing your teeth for a primate is a threat display. It is not smiling at all. Humans are the only ape species, and we are apes, by the way. I'm talking about biology. Humans are the only apes, the only primates that actually smile and we think it's like to show our weapons to one another, to show that we're disarming ourselves in a way. But all the other ape species, when they're showing their teeth, it's a threat display or a stress reaction. So, and think about a Sasquatch being observed. They don't want to be observed, and when they know they're being observed, 10 to 15% of the time there's a smell component to it. So since these other Sasquatches have been seen exhibiting a stress reaction by baring their teeth, it makes sense that perhaps this musk gland perhaps might be present in that species as well. Because gorillas exude that when they're stressed out. Maybe Sasquatches have something similar. We don't really know, but there is a precedent in the other great apes, and we should always be looking at the other great apes, including humans, to find out the source of behaviors about Sasquatches.
Being a boy from Ohio, we have the grass man. He's famous for his nests, and I found back when I was a kid, we found several nests, and they smell like a homeless person that's in front of you in Walmart on the worst day ever. And they have this musky smell that Cliff was referring to, and also kind of a skunky finish to it when you smell it. And like I said, we were messing around where we found some nests, and they were in a cornfield, and they were in the middle of this big cornfield, like a mile wide and a mile long. A friend of mine had an airplane, saw them in the cornfield, and directed us to the spot. And there was about 4 nests out there, and they all had that pungent odor. So I don't know if it's body odor or whatever. Maybe we just had a dirty bunch. I don't know.
Thank you, thank you. We had another question just come up. Who thinks in the audience that Bigfoot buries their dead? There's a couple people, handful of people. We're gonna ask the people right here in front of me what they think about when Bigfoots die. What happens to them?
That is a really good question. Very rarely you find a burial, but I think I have found maybe 9 since I've been out looking for Bigfoot, and I tracked it for 2.5 years, and I found some evidence and that they built a little pyramid made out of. They start out with a dirt mound like all the Native American Indians did, and then they add rocks to it and they build it like a pyramid. So if you ever see anything like that in the woods, you might want to get away because they guard them with their life. So if you see it, take the picture and get out of there because you're in their territory. There'll be like vines and stuff twisted into X's or big trees hanging in the trees. And it'll look like a big giant X mark. That means don't go past that X mark because that means you're in the danger zone. And I can pass this on and maybe somebody else can explain it better than me, but I've only found 9. And it was scary when I got there. That's when I started hearing more knocks and whoops and hollers, and they didn't want me near that place where they had a burial at. I guess it's called a mound, maybe. I'll let somebody else explain that to you on down the line here.
I personally have never found what I thought might have been a burial, but the section of country I live in down the mountains of Virginia, there's a lot of caves in that area. And I tend to think maybe they might carry them back in them caves where you ain't gonna find them unless you really go digging deep. And plus, any hunter can tell you this: if there's an animal dies in the woods, the body ain't gonna last long because all the critters out there are eating on it. Even the bones and stuff, squirrels and chipmunks stuff are eating the bones to get the calcium. So unless you find it pretty quickly, it's not gonna be there.
I spent most of my life in the woods. And Jim's right. You find a dead deer in the woods, within 2 weeks, you might find a little bit of fur, and that's it. The ground acidity helps eat the animals, so I don't know if they buried their dead. I never found a mound big enough. That's just a good question that we have yet to find out. Yeah.
I have never found anything to that aspect at all. I often say in past presentations that, I've hunted my whole life and I know there's probably a ton of hunters here. The likelihood that you find snake bones or bear bones, and there's a lot more of them than there are of Bigfoot, you don't find either one of those. So the chances of you finding a Bigfoot bones, any part of its body, is probably 0 to none.
Unless you're going to hold it for me. No. Get away. I've never found anything like that. I mean, yeah, I can piggyback off of everything they're saying, but, nothing's going to last in the woods that long. I'm from Harlan County, Kentucky, which is the black bear capital of Kentucky. There's almost as many people or many bear in the county of Kentucky. What is that sound? I thought I was getting like a theme song for a second. Like it was building me up. I mean, it feels like Indiana Jones now. Yeah. That's cool. Anyway, so there's more black bear. There's almost as many black bear in Harlan County as there are people. It's rare that you see one. I mean, but you got to think about like this, burying our dead. I mean, like Jim said about cave systems, Kentucky is eat up with cave systems. But Homo naledi was, discovered in a cave in South Africa 330,000 some odd years ago. We were putting our dead in the caves. So that's a form of burial, I guess. So that's the most frustrating question I get asked. Is it not yours, Terry? Where's the body? Where's the body? I don't know. Hanging out somewhere, I guess. Terry Wendell.
Yeah, I am not qualified by any means to answer that question. I can only tell you I have seen no evidence of it in anywhere that I've gone, and I can also speak to the same issue that these guys were talking about. It is amazing how fast carcasses will decay in the woods. you really have no idea. You know, they will go from a recognizable carcass down to mush in no time. You know, I'm not trying to be gross. The maggots will get into them. Porcupines, things will eat the bones. So I can't tell you yes or no about that. The only thing I can say is that I have never seen anything that I would consider definitive evidence that they do that.
Although a Sasquatch burying its dead is an intriguing possibility, there's no reason to think that happens at present. Sasquatches are extraordinarily rare animals, and they're apex predators. Apex predators means nothing else eats them. So a prey species like a deer does not get to choose where it dies. Okay, apex predators do get to choose where they die. They just don't know they're going to die when it happens. They get sick one day, and what do you do when you get sick? You squirrel yourself away somewhere and wait till you get better. Now, Sasquatches and all other wild animals are in danger at that time. They're exceptionally vulnerable, so they probably hide themselves pretty good in foliage and whatnot, probably near water. Humans are the only animal that really eats when they're sick. Most of the animals fast to try to get whatever toxins are inside them out as quickly as possible. And one day, instead of getting better like they have every other time they were ill in their life, they die. So they literally started by hiding their body, even though they didn't know they were going to die. Within a few hours to a few days, scavengers move in, start dispersing the body parts. A leg goes that way, an arm goes that way, a few hundred yards, that kind of thing. The meat is quickly eaten away. The bones are eaten by the most plentiful animal in North America by biomass, which is the deer mouse. Deer mice eat bones. Wood rats eat bones. Porcupines eat bones. Squirrels eat bones. Coyotes, bear, they eat bones. Deer and elk eat bones. That's where they get the calcium for their antlers. There's a wonderful video on YouTube of a deer eating a human rib bone at a body farm. Look it up. It gives you a different perspective on Bambi pretty dramatically. The hair is eaten by moths. There should be no sign of this thing in a short while here. I was told, and I don't know this for a fact, but I was told that a full-grown Asian elephant, wherever it dies, there will be no sign of it within 4 months. And Sasquatches are significantly smaller than Asian elephants. Then when you consider the rarity of the species, there's probably at least 100 bear for every one Bigfoot. I've been asking for 30 years now, wildlife biologists, whoever, Forest Service people, have you ever found a naturally dead bear in the woods? I have one person saying yes, an owl biologist in Northern California, and he found the back legs of a bear sticking out from underneath a fallen redwood tree, which actually supports my idea that they are hiding themselves away at some point to a safe area. Now, Sasquatches, it's safe to say they probably live 40 or 50 years. All ape species, including humans, do. We live longer because of medicine and culture and all that stuff. All the other ape species check out after about 40, 50 years, usually due to dental deaths of some sort. Some sort of a tooth abscess that spreads into their brain and kills them, or of starvation because of a tooth problem. That's how elephants mostly die, for example. Sasquatches probably die like that. But if they live 40 or 50 years, and let's think, in my home state of Oregon, there's maybe 300 or so Bigfoot, probably, something like that, of using 100 to 1 bears to Bigfoot. And if they live 40 to 50 years, I don't know, I mean, probably check my math, but doesn't that mean something in the terms of like, I don't know, 6 die every year? 6? Somewhere in the state of Oregon, in the most far-flung corners you can imagine. But yet dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of bears die every single year. We should not expect to find a naturally dead Sasquatch for this simple reason alone. But the question does remain, do they actually bury their dead? It's possible. Homo naledi, by the way, was a species he mentioned, and they're dated to only about 150,000 years ago. Chris Stringer, the paleoanthropologist who is in charge of that study, there's plenty of reason to doubt that those are actually burials. We don't know when burials started in the hominin line. We know Neanderthals did it. We know nothing about Homo denisovan. I don't think we have any information on Homo heidelbergensis or ergaster or erectus or anything of those things either. There's no reason to think Sasquatches do it. We don't have to explain it away like that, but it is an intriguing possibility.
Well, there's not a whole lot to add to it other than, like with a lot of this subject or anything in life, people have to be aware. And I think there's less and less people who go in the woods. We're inherently lazy, or we have an agenda or a mission while we're out there, and you'd have to find that remote place where it crawled off to be sick. You would have to find, that's not covered with foliage, and even know what you're looking at, and even to know what to do with it. I mean, that right there is probably going to eliminate everything. But also, I'll default back to his first question. Maybe we ask Jimmy Hoffa where they bury him instead of asking. All right, that's it. That's all I got.
So one of our research sites here in the National Forest has these strange mounds in it. And these mounds look like somebody dug a grave, and you see how they mound over, like it's like 4 foot, maybe 7 foot long mound. I'm see Denny over there. Have you found them up there too? We don't know what they are, and this is a lot of Native American stuff here, and I'm not going to dig into a mound. I probably know where 100 of them are at. And there's another researcher sitting here in the front row. He's shaking his head yes. So we don't know what they are. I don't know if I'm looking at mine trailings, like maybe a cart where they're dumping some mine trailings and stuff. But I would hesitate to ever dig into it. See, it might be a unknown human cemetery for all I know. I don't know what it is. And this place is colorful history and stuff, and I sure as don't want to desecrate any Native American sites. So I would say if they bury the dead, I've never seen any proof for it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we got one. I saw you had one back here. Yes, sorry, I'm turning around too far. My degrees of rotation. Okay, so paraphrasing, is the advancement of technology hindering or helping Bigfoot research? Everybody needs to go viral. Yes, I agree with that. That's a very great question. Turtle Man, we'll let you answer that first.
What we got question?
Is technology helping or hurting Bigfoot research?
Okay. That's a good question there myself. I don't really get into technology too much, so I'm going to say, I know I heard one time that oh my God, I don't know how to put this, but Oklahoma was going to put a license to kill a Bigfoot, so I kind of had to put my foot in on that. I don't want a Bigfoot killed or shot at. Even though when I was 9 years old, I shot at it, but I was scared to death. I was only warning it, but it kept coming, and I shot at its knees, and it roared out. I don't know what went on. I just know I just took off running, and I've been scared for a whole year, and I finally come out of the house after a year. But now I fear no fear, but but anyway, if they're going to start, I'm like Cliff and all of them over here, I say these guys will back me up. If they're going to kill a Bigfoot, I don't want nobody out there searching for it if they're going to kill it. Now, I don't know if anybody agrees with that or not, so I kind of had a say-so over that down in Oklahoma. And they kind of took my word that they wouldn't put a license to hunt Bigfoot because I thought too many people would get hurt. If you kill one, I think they'll put on the war paint, and then if you do, like innocent people go out here just having fun, looking for a Bigfoot, you might get sightings, yes, but they're peaceful right now. But if that word gets around, you kill one, they're going to be like stirring up a hornet nest. When you hit a hornet nest, what's going to happen? You're going to get stung. That's right, thousands of times. So I'm thinking the innocent people, they better be careful, because if they make war on a Bigfoot, and as sneaky as he is, and you're walking through the woods, you're not going to see what's going to hit you in the head. You'll never catch it. Am I right or wrong, guys? I'm going to pass it on. Maybe y'all back me up here.
No, I agree with Turtle Man. We don't need to be trying to shoot the things. I know all of y'all seen that video. That guy claims he's got the pieces of one that his dad killed back in the 50s. I mean, yeah, it's a carnival joke. But that kind of stuff makes it all look bad. Makes us look stupid because we're actually serious about trying to research them and prove, show people the stuff we have found. And technology can be a blessing or a disaster. because people can take all this new technology and make all these fake tapes and pictures and stuff, make it look so good, and it really hurts the research, the real research we're trying to do. And as far as technology goes, they're still dragging me kicking and screaming into the 20th century. So if I tell y'all I really seen something or have something to show you, it's a genuine article.
With the AI now, it's going to hurt us, I believe, big time. But there's other technologies out there that's going to help us. That's the thing. And I'm not so sure. Someone was telling me that there's a marker on the AIs that you can find and see that's AI. I've yet to figure out that. But AI is going to hurt us in our research. And too many people will play with it and will cause the research to really fall backwards.
I agree with all of them. I think AI is definitely going to hurt us. It also puts us in jeopardy because if somebody believes that that's a real video, somebody might go out and try to kill it, and we might be in the woods doing research at that time, and one of us could end up getting hurt, and that's the part that's worrisome.
I had a really good thing and it just went out the window. Big Hero 6, that was that was a really good movie though. I mean, I can counter that argument on Terminator. AI, in a few months, a year or so ago, these little photos started popping up on Facebook, and it disheartened me that researcher friends of mine were sharing them, going, "Can you believe this?" And it was like a 15-foot tall Bigfoot standing against the wall, and there's a bunch of guys standing around it. Like, that's cool, man. Yeah, no, can't believe that. But on the flip side of things, Bill, everybody said AI will hurt us. But think about it like this, okay? And I'll use a really good example. A few years ago, Randy Travis, the country music singer, had a debilitating stroke. It left him with the ability not to talk. Singers cannot sing if they cannot talk. Now, Randy has done a lot of physical therapy, and now he's able to say a few words. He just released an album, brand new album. It's all AI driven. They used his voice from previous times and made a new album with his voice using AI. So let me flip the whole apple cart over and say, why not, we can go out in the woods and do the whoop all we want. You are not going to sound like a Bigfoot. They know we're not another Bigfoot. However, if you took an actual vocalization, use the Sierra sounds for example, and put AI into that, who's to say we couldn't get an actual response using that technology? So, use it for you, use it against you. It's really up to who's got the controls. Terry.
Thank you, sir. My opinion, technology is a tool. Tools are neither bad nor good. Tools are dependent upon the hand that wields them. A knife can cut out a cancerous mass inside a body. A knife can slit someone's wrist or throat. A knife is neither bad nor good. So in my mind, it's going to depend on how people use them. Will it make things harder? Possibly. I do video production stuff when I'm not doing Bigfoot. I study cameras. I know how cameras work. I can look at something a lot of times and tell you that was not in front of the camera up until this point. At this point, I can't do that anymore. because technology has gotten so good that it is now blended into the camera. There's still tricks that you can do to massage the bits and the bytes, but it's getting better. So in my mind, you know, on the flip side of this, thermal imaging sensors have gone berserk in the development that they have gone through. They have gone through all kinds of improvements. So the equipment that we have in the field available to us now to actually look into the darkness is mind-boggling from just 10 or 15 years ago. But again, in my opinion, technology will only do what the hand that wields it wants it to do.
While AI will continue to produce better and better fake images, it'll also be serving us to find out which images are fake. Already there's AI that has been programmed to take scans of books, passages, writings of all sorts, and give you a % chance that it was generated by AI. So AI is now narking on itself in a way, and I suspect that there will be opportunities to develop AI to do the same thing with images and video and all that sort of stuff. But as far as video goes, I would like to think that perhaps if I ever got a shot of a Sasquatch, you know, a video of one, that perhaps my reputation would precede me. And I think that if you don't know the person who got the evidence of any sort, don't believe it. Don't believe it. If it's on the internet, it's probably a lie. Honestly, I think Facebook and social media in general will definitely help us end civilization as we know it. I wish instead of social media we had an anti-social media, because that's something I can get behind. But as far as AI and stuff, it is a tool, as mentioned here. But I think AI will be developed to detect AI because of plagiarism issues, and there's money to be made there. As long as there's not by me, but lawyers and those folk, you know, as long as there's money to be made by suing people and all that sort of nefarious, litigious things that we do here in our weird society that we developed, there will be tools developed to detect those sort of things. So I do think that it's a double-edged sword. I know somebody who's developing AI scripts to identify animals by their heat signature through thermal imaging. That sounds like a powerful tool. So I think it's a double-edged sword. It's all how you use it. We just need to be careful the way we step. But Facebook, I think it's going to be the end of us all.
I don't think any of us would be here right now at this event buying all this merchandise and doing all this, myself included, research, without people like Cliff and the job that, you know, Animal Planet, but honestly, Cliff, Bobo, the whole crew did, teaching us, showing the parallels all over the country or the world. This is all the same thing, and just bringing this all mainstream. And this event wouldn't be going on, in my opinion, and it wouldn't have taught me what I knew, and we would all ignore this. This would all be a boogeyman story or hogwash or you know, it's a ghost or whatever. And so, and then this connection with the social media of learning from each other. Yeah, you know, the different videos and stuff, but this communication, and it's how we meet half of these people. So there are sides of it I see as a huge benefit. And technology, like one of the apps I love is, it's free, Scanverse, you know, and, you know, nothing beats a plaster cast, but to be able to scan it in 3-dimensional, it's a free app, you know, it's, for example, that. And the cost of everything's coming down as far as, you know, the FLIRs, the night vision, things are just more accessible, and the sharing of information, and with all these podcasts, and, you know, you consume all that, and you start hearing all these parallels of conditions, terrains, experiences, and you could just start funneling it all together, and it would never happen without this media, not without somebody like Cliff in this show. He's not paying me to sit next to him. It's kind of, I really lucked out. And but it's true though. This wouldn't be here without that show, and normalizing it and make it okay to talk about, instead of being like an event where, you know, you're a mission of guilt, you know, like my name's Bill, I'm, you know, that's a bad joke, I'm sorry. So that's it.
Yeah, as far as AI, Mr. Smith down on the end down there has this really cool LiDAR app on his phone. So here's me, old school tracker, crawling around on the ground like a baby, following these tracks. Here comes this guy with this smartphone. He hovers over the tracks that I can barely make out, like tracks in the grass, so you can tell something's been through here, what it was, more likely than people. But he took that app and he hovered it over the track that I was examining. And he came up with a 3D image that I would never see. And I could have my nose 2 inches from this track and I still couldn't tell what it was. But when he used that app and it put together that 3D picture of what I was looking at, I was amazed. As far as, you know, people making fake stuff, I mean, that's always going to happen. And Cliff pointed out, there's money to be made, it's going to happen. You're talking to a guy, my major source of communication is this flip phone. So I'm kind of anti-technology as it was until I ran into that LiDAR, I think it's the LiDAR app. I was really amazed in what I could see with that I couldn't see with my eyes.
Thank you guys for all the amazing questions. We are unfortunately out of time for our speaker roundtable. However, I think we're all going to try to get a picture. If you guys want a picture with all the speakers, we're probably going to stand up here for like a minute and we can all get a picture. I know somebody wanted a picture, so we'll do that real quick. And then how many people are coming back tomorrow? A couple people. All right. Well, I will be here, and I think we all will be here. So if you're coming back tomorrow, thank you. Stick around for the band. We got an awesome band coming on in a few minutes, and we'll see you guys in a little bit.